Welcome back to 98.9. We're up to episode 0.3 now, Shark. You're away on holiday, so we're not live having a cuppa, but here we are.
You look a lot colder where you are, Leigh, than where I am. The palm trees might be a bit of a giveaway, but yeah, we're up in Queensland at the moment. Great Keppel Island, beautiful spot. Yeah, it's bloody magic up here, but looks like Melbourne sun not breaking through so much based on the snow jacket.
No, not really, mate, but we'll leave the jacket on anyway, you know. It's a good look. It's gold, mate. Looks very similar to where I'll be when 98.9 becomes a reality. Well, it already is becoming a reality, but yeah, when we're there. So looking forward to it, mate.
Absolutely. How's your week been? You got all your test results back?
Not all of them yet. So as I said last week, the avoidance on the test had been on a number of things, and there are sort of 4 tests I really wanted to get done. One was just a blood test, which we sort of touched on last week that I'd avoided. The second was to get a microbiome test, so I knew where I was at there. The third was to get a genetic test so that I could check methylation levels and all those sorts of things so that I could really, and it's funny, we talk about wiser self and we talk about apprentice, and my wiser self just wanted to know this stuff 2.5 years ago. And as I said, they've been sitting there to be done for 2.5 years. So they were the 3 main ones. And then on your advice, actually, I went and got a DEXA scan because I've got the Hume scales and that sort of stuff to give me a bit of an idea. But that was the other one that I got done. So I've had the DEXA scan results come back. I've had the blood test results come back. We'll probably lean into having a bit more of an explanation about what all of them, each of those is, and what the results look like. Go into a bit more detail because it might be of interest to some people to see what you do get from those things. But we'll probably do that in an episode of the next week or the week after. But I have got the blood test results back, so surprised with some of those. To be honest, I kind of feel like I dodged a bullet, particularly with the glucose levels were quite good, which was good. Well, they weren't pre-diabetic. They weren't any of those things, which I was pretty fearful of because my mum got diabetes quite young, and mum also got dementia quite young, and she died of dementia, and that's a shit disease. So I think, when we talk about avoidance, that was part of the fear. Was I don't think I wanted to know whether I was going to be pre-diabetic or on the way to getting Alzheimer's. So I feel like I dodged a bullet because I don't think I'd done enough to avoid it. But the universe has looked after me there. Mm-hmm. Second piece of that was then the cholesterol was high. So that's the next phase, and that's putting me, in danger of heart attack and that sort of stuff. So that's the area that I need to do some work on. But everything else was pretty solid. So I feel pretty lucky, really, given the nick I'm in. Obviously you do some things that are pretty good in terms of exercise and movement and all those sorts of things. But yeah, a long way off where I need to be. But that was kind of good. And then the DEXA scan results, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, so I've got, we knew I had some work to do. So now I've got a baseline, hey?
It's the DEXA scan for people that don't know much about it. It's like a low frequency sort of X-ray MRI type situation. It just takes an image of your body, your bone density, where your fat stores are, everything like that. And I had one done probably 12 months ago now. It's a pretty cool test. It can be a bit confronting though when you see the image, because not only is it showing your skeleton, but it's showing your muscle mass and your fat deposits and everything like that, and a bit of a rainbow sort of situation. It can be a bit of a freak out when you see it for the first time. How'd you go when you saw the pictures?
Looked like a wheelie bin in thongs, mate. It's pretty big. There's a bit there, mate. I only just fit on the screen. And there was a pretty shit moment in there too when they know how to make you feel good. So I was in there getting it done, right? And as I was getting it done, you're not allowed to move. Like you really got to stay still.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm lying there. I'm staying as still as I possibly can. And then next thing you know, I hear the girl that was looking after me brought in a doctor or a higher expert. And I hear him go, "Oh yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good." And I've gone, "Fuck, what's wrong?" And I've gone, "I'm too big for it, aren't I? I'm too big for it." Sure enough, she gets off and she goes, "Oh yeah, I think you're okay. I think we got you in there." I mean, fuck me. Do I need to hear that?
Shit.
Like, thanks.
Oh no.
You wonder why we run avoidance on this shit. So,
oh no.
and then when I look at the freaking scan, which we'll share here, the photo of it, oh my God. Like, no wonder.
As deft touch as they could be as well. You know, the poor thing, she's probably freaking out. Like, how do we? Oh,
yeah, have we done it? Have I done it right? Is it going to be a mess? Is it going to be a mess? And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like,
one of those chats when they're doing everything they can to make you not feel uncomfortable, but in the process of doing that, they make you feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you have a look at it, it does. It looks like I'm smuggling a bloody king-size doona around me. Anyway, that's going to be gone soon.
It will be. That's right. It's just, you'll never look like that again. The next scan, it'll be completely different. So that's
the baseline,
what you're
right?
telling yourself about. Yeah. And how has the week been in general, just with your standards and everything else?
Yeah, I dropped the standards a little bit. So I was at 56 is obviously the number. We got 8 times 7. I said 49 last week. How's my maths going? It's 56 a week, so 8 times 7. So I hit 50 out of 56 this week, so just a little bit below the 90% we're aiming for. Went over to calories a couple of days, missed my steps one day, and then I missed my bean time one day, and I missed the morning movement one time. But, you know, by and large, you know, when I say the calories, I only just missed. Like, again, as I've said all along, I want to keep this as something that fits into my life rather than being something that, you know, is a big, massive change. I think that's so important about standards. So we had a meal. We just had a dinner on Saturday night. It was amazing food and wine down at South Beach. And, yeah, we'd booked it in a while ago. So I said, okay, well, I'll eat less during the day and I'll still have a couple of glasses of wine and do all that sort of stuff. And, yeah, so I imagine I would have been over in the calories because I couldn't measure it. Wouldn't have been by much. But, yeah, but all in all, not too bad. You know, the magic number, it's dropped by, I dropped 0.8 of a kilo this week, which is kind of pretty good under those circumstances, with a couple of days where I went over in the on the calories front, but I didn't go over by much. So again, I guess it's about being conscious and that sort of stuff of these things. But yeah, it's funny how when you miss your standards, just the fucking apprentice voice just screaming out of you. See, I told you wouldn't do it. It's just, it's insane when you've got these big dragons. And I guess that's, you know, when we talk about the dragon, for me, mine's external. Like, it's very easy to see this dragon. It's not to say I don't have others, but I think that's one of the things that's really interesting. And it's interesting, you know, when I throw it at yourself or whoever, and you get people to think about their own. Like, most people's dragons are internal. Yeah. And I've been able to do the work on the internal dragons that I've had. Yeah, I've been able to move through those and find some forgiveness and love for myself and all those sorts of things internally. And this is probably the last piece of self-compassion that I need to show. So it's just really interesting when I think about it like that, because I get frustrated. And then there's moments where I go, how could I have done this? How could I have done this still, right? Even though last week I was feeling really good, this week's been a bit more of a challenge. But yeah, it's just really interesting. Then I look internally and go, well, hang on, look at all the work I've done internally. Yeah. And then there'll be a lot of guys out there, and I was getting my hair cut this morning, and Sean was talking about a mate of his. It's a bodybuilder. He's down to 4% body fat, you know, and, you know, he's got a competition coming up, and he said, how are you going? He goes, and the guy goes, I'm fucked. He said, I'm shot.
Yeah.
He said, I've got the competition coming up. I feel like crap. I'm still not really there, and there's a lot going on for that guy as well. And it's just really interesting, you know, when you hear that, you realise that everybody's got these dragons, yeah? It's just that mine's external, whereas so many of them are internal. And that's a big part of why we want to share the journey internally, what's going on for me, because this can be applied, hopefully, externally as well.
And part of that process too, as well as having your standards and committing to that, is going and getting all those tests done and those benchmarks. And that's, you know, the results can be pretty confronting. And seeing yourself, I guess, like a DEXA scan, like that image, or yourself portrayed in that bare bones sort of way, there's no escaping anything.
No.
Which I think it's probably why when you're speaking about avoiding getting these tests done and that cycle that you were in, probably part of the fuel that feeds that avoidance, would that be right? Is you just the freak out around how bad is this going to be, and then you take yourself there in your mind to results that you haven't even seen.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And the thing about it is, so what we do is, and I mean, there's a shitload of research on this, but really what happens is the avoidance allows you to just step into something that gives you a dopamine hit for now so you can forget about it. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then the thing about that is that what it does is the avoidance gives you a benefit immediately. Yeah? But then you pay the fucking bill later. And the Yeti you just saw, that's me paying the bill.
I think that's, as you say, the dragons, everyone's got those things that they're avoiding as well, that they're stepping around, whether it's relationship with alcohol. I watched a little short film on that on the weekend. This bloke who's doing a lot of content around alcohol and cocaine consumption. Within that late 20s to early 40s age bracket, and he's just questioning himself after getting off it and getting out of that habit, saying, what are you running away from, or what are you avoiding by having these drugs, I guess, that you're just leaning on every weekend? Like, what are you getting away from? Is it family? Is it yourself? Is it work? Like, what are you burning up in the chase of that mental break, that people get? But then you feel 10 times worse the next day, which is the first point he made. He said, go and do it. Yeah, that's great. It just helps me relax. Yeah. And then the next 2 days you feel like absolute dirt, and then you're back in the cycle again. There's lots of ways to avoid facing up to things, whether it's in your head or physically or however it presents for the individual.
Workaholism, mate. For most blokes, it's fucking workaholism, right? I'll just get into work, right? Like, I'll just work my ass off. I'll provide for the family, I mean, how many, again, how many men, women, whoever, doesn't matter who you are, how many people are avoiding the relationship conversations they need to have? Or they're avoiding dealing with the mistake they made 15 years ago that they haven't been able to deal with, or they're not dealing with the money issues they've got, or whatever it is. There's dragons there, right? And in most cases, the dragon's not new. It's been there for a long time, and it has a source, right? It's come from somewhere. And that's what we want people to get curious about. Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that the avoidance, we understand why we do it, but there's no doubt you're paying the bill later.
Are you familiar with Seth Godin, the American writer, like marketing guy? I just listened to a podcast with him during the week, and he spoke a lot on the podcast around the cycle of embarrassment and shame that comes with doing something new, and that people have these ideas in their mind, or they're not happy with work, or they want to change, they want to do something different, and the avoidance cycle for them is just to sit in what's familiar, even if they don't like what's familiar. They're sitting there in the job that they hate, but they don't want to leave the job to pursue something they want to because of that embarrassment, that shame aspect. What if I fail? What if this goes tits up? What if I start and then I can't go any further and I'm no good? I'm going to feel terrible about that, and people I know will see that. And you've spoken to that in previous episodes around starting, failing, having an off day, not sharing the wins with the kids at this point, like just getting some runs on the board for yourself. But his secret to turning that around is just to start. Like, what's the smallest possible thing you can do today to take you closer towards that goal or that end point or that new skill or those tests that you have to do? What's the smallest possible thing? And when you break it down into that, and I know that's a process we've done through your Uncommon Man work, the smallest possible thing. It just takes all of that fear away.
It does, yeah. I mean, we've got to create momentum, right? Because, when we talk about these sort of two parts of the brain, right, we've got this apprentice part of our brain that's just trying to keep us safe all the time. It just holds us all the way back here. And what it needs, and the reason it holds us back here, is because it's got evidence. It looks for evidence to help keep us safe. Yeah, because if you want to keep someone safe, if you think about when you're a young kid and from 0 to 6 or 7, you're kind of looked after by your folks. Yeah. or whoever your primary caregivers are. So our brain's programmed to have this alpha state. Yep. And so kids are just quite happy to, they hear that they're not allowed to cross the road. Whatever you do, don't cross the road, you'll get hit. Yeah. And so the kids go, oh shit, I better not cross the road. But then all of a sudden when they're 6 or 7, pardon the pun, but when they're 6 or 7, what happens is they're on their own. They have to cross the road for the first time. So what they need is they're looking at the evidence that they have to go, well, what do I need to do to cross the road? Well, look left, look right, look left again. Yeah. And then they cross the road, but they're still nervous as hell because they've been told not to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens is the only way that they can actually feel confident about crossing the road is through evidence. And the evidence they created is, I got to cross the road once, I was safe. I got to cross the road, I'm safe. So all of a sudden what happens is that then becomes automated. So what we've got to do is, and this is what we're constantly doing, right? It doesn't matter what we're doing in life. We've got to keep on reprogramming ourselves. That's the beautiful part about neuroplasticity in the brain, right?
Mm.
So being able to do that, this is just another example. It's about taking the first easiest step so you can go, okay, here's some evidence that it might be okay. Here's some more evidence that it might be okay. I was thinking about a guy that I was working with even this week, smart, like sharp as a tack, this bloke, right? Had amazing jobs, but had a couple of career changes where he went out on his own and he followed his heart a bit and it didn't sort of work out the way he thought it should have. So what did he do? Decided that, he'd go back and work for a big company again. And now he's at that phase where he wants to go and do this on his own. And he's like, all those stories are coming up again because the evidence of the past tells him that it didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to the real evidence is he's super smart, he's creative, he's super hardworking, yeah, and he's wonderful with people. That's what he discovered. Now, all of those sound like pretty good traits for someone who wants to go and build their own business.
So what do you think? What's the key, I guess, to breaking that cycle? Is it just that first small step, or is it? It's obviously more than that. But taking action, the smallest possible action you can think of, is a great way to start.
It is.
But where do you follow on from that?
I think, certainly with the work that we do, and with my experience, is that, and I keep taking it back, we are so fixated on how. We need to know exactly how everything is going to happen or else we won't do it, right? Because that goes back to that apprentice mindset. Yeah. Tell me how to do it. Show me the evidence and I'll go and do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the challenge that we have with almost anything, right? We need to know how. And that's not to say that we don't need to know how to start doing something, right? Of course we need to know how. But you can't know everything before you get there. And it's almost like what you got to understand is it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether you're changing careers from being in finance for 24 years into coaching people, right? Or whether you've been in media and you're looking to go and do a whole heap of different stuff, Shark, that's new, when people are sitting there going, holy shit, I didn't know that was you. Yeah?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what that is. What you have to understand is that you have enough now. You have to have enough confidence now that you know enough to start. And what you have to have faith is that you can learn it on the way, right? Because it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have now, there's shit you're going to have to learn along the way because it will never be a linear journey. So the easiest thing to do is to get really clear, though, on the intention. So this is what I see so often with, and it's the same with all of us. If you're not clear on what it is you want to get to, if you don't have really clear intention, you will be permanently distracted. 100% you're going to be permanently distracted because you don't even know where you're going.
Yeah.
So this is not about goals. This is about intentions. What do I want to live my life like? How do I want to show up as a human being? And that's, one of the really interesting things about this is that, how I want to show up as a human being generally in my life, I do. Just not in this phase, in terms of the way I physically look, but I do. So that's the key, is be really intentional about who you are, how you want to show up. And when you do that, that's when you can start to go, okay, well, what are the steps that I need to take? What's the first step, the second step, the third step? And that gives you the confidence. But the more you have that intention, the easier it is to build the identity of that person. Yeah. Yeah. And that's not to say everyone's broken. I mean, Christ, everybody's living a pretty fucking amazing life. When you stop and have a look, like it is phenomenal, right? Out of all the things we could have been in the universe, here we are, we're human beings on this planet, living in a first world country, we can go on a holiday and sit in paradise like you are now and go snorkeling and scuba diving, you know, at will. I mean, it's insane how lucky we are to be this. So when you think about that, whatever it is we want to bring into our life shouldn't be that friggin' difficult.
Yeah, it's that mental derailment, I guess, if that's a word. It is now. It just wants to keep you safe rather than. Yeah, and we all know people that just roll the dice. You know, they roll the dice all the time on everything, and that's probably that's one end of the extreme. But geez, I know a lot of people that have things they want to do in their life, or have even just the smallest goals, and you hear it in the conversation. Oh yeah, we'd love to do that, but you know, the old yeah buts. It just.
Oh yeah.
I could probably name 15 conversations I've had with mates in the last 2 weeks where that's popped up around something. Even just doing work like this. Oh, it's easy for you to do that. Oh, you've got time. Because you haven't. Oh, hang on. Well, what if I've still got to make time? You've still got to make time. Anybody's got to make time if they want to do something new or learn a new skill. Or
I think the other thing you've got to acknowledge is you've got to acknowledge the fear too.
Yeah.
And what it feels like. Like, to be honest, like it felt like shit to be me. Like, it felt like shit to avoid boxing. It felt like shit to avoid conversations with my wife. It felt like shit to avoid conversations around intimacy with my wife when I look like this, you know. Getting blokes calling you a fat prick on anything you post, saying who are you to tell people what to do. Like, it's funny, you think that stuff doesn't hit when you do all the work on yourself internally, but it did for me. It did for me, and I think it does. I think this is the thing. What you don't realise is that there are so many things that the avoidance, that they're all the bills you're paying on the way through. And, you know, looking in the mirror and not liking what's looking back at you, that's tough, you know. Avoiding jumping on the scales, avoiding going boxing. Like, I love boxing, right? And I'm avoiding going boxing because I'm sitting there going, I can't run out of sight in the dark night. Yeah, it's there's a lot of pain there. And the more the pain gets built up, the more we'll avoid it and seek pleasure, because that's what we are as humans. Yeah. But what we also realize is that stepping into growth is what then accentuates the experiences that we have in life, or escalates our ability to have amazing experiences. And growth also then allows us to have a monumental ripple effect. And, you know, we talk about that quite regularly, about sort of the ACBs, that we want to feel alive through experiences, that we want to make a contribution, that ripple effect. That brings us, you know, these are the three facets of a great life. But the third piece is then the growth component. And we don't necessarily set ourselves growth goals. Yeah. And that's pretty imperative to making significant change as well. Is, well, what do I need? Where do I need to grow? But what sits beneath all that, because that's all great and whimsical and fantastic, and in fact, let's get after that. But what sits underneath that is, well, what's the fear and the shit I have to deal with in front of me that's holding me back? And for that apprentice mind that we've got, he's feeling like crap about the way I look, and he's sitting there going, unless I have the perfect plan, unless you're going to prove to me you can do this, I'm just going to sit here and play small and sit here and hide behind it. And I'll sit here and hide behind a, you know, four rums on a Friday night, you know, or I'm going to sit behind the fucking pantry candies on every time I get a win, because I've got no one to share it with. And I'm, you know, it's all those things. And I think, it's pretty critical for people to understand that you've got to stare into those fears, because that's what you've got to learn. That's what you've got to grow from. They're the things you've got to change. But it's really hard it can be difficult to get yourself into a space where you're capable of looking at that and accepting it.
Yeah. And given the fact that, you know, the avoidance cycle has a cumulative impact as well as taking action, no doubt there's going to be times where you're in this process and you can't be bothered. It's raining outside. You don't want to go for a walk, or, you know, you've had a late night. You don't want to get up and do your 5 a.m. start. You know, there's things that you're going to be able to sidestep around, and your brain will sort of give you that opportunity. So what's the key to staying on track or getting back on track if you do have one of those moments that, you know, you take a pit stop for a second and there's the risk of slipping back into those patterns?
It's a good question. And I think, you know, for what goes on for me upstairs and because of the work I do, the way I've always done that is that I've changed the language in so many areas of my life, from I'm not good enough to this is not good enough. Yeah. So then it becomes the thing. It externalizes the thing. Yeah. So it's very different, right? Whereas because my language has been so firm around my body and who I am, and again, for everybody else, they're probably feeling the same, right? That there's some language there that's really embedded that you can't get out of, yeah? And it's generally, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. When you turn it to the subject and you go, this is not good enough, it's very different, yeah? So that's the first thing. This is not good enough. So you're recognizing that this is not good enough. So you're looking at it from an objective state and saying, okay, that's not good enough, yeah? However, what I want to be able to bring to it is some compassion. So for argument's sake, if I've had 3 hours of sleep and I'm exhausted and I decide that I'm not going to get up at 5 a.m. for one day, that doesn't derail everything. I can try and do what I need to do for the rest of the day, or I lean into the 10% that I've got up my sleeve that I've given myself to say, okay, that's fair enough. And the thing about that is the more you realize this is not good enough and you make a choice and you're intentional, about what you don't do, the easier it is for you to get back on the horse. Yeah. I intentionally didn't do that. Yep. So I intentionally knew that on Saturday night I wasn't going to worry about my calories. Yep. What that meant was I only had 4 wines. It meant that I came home. It meant I got up the next morning and I went for my walk, had an amazing night. Best night I've had with my wife in ages. Yeah. Because I wasn't going there to try to hide from anything. I went there intentionally saying this is what it's going to look like. So suddenly getting back on the next day is far easier. Yeah. Now, the flip side of that is, what about when you have the 3 days and you go, yeah, fuck it, this is really hard. Well, this is why one of my standards is bean time. You've got to have 20 minutes of bean time. You've got to slow down to go faster. So that's what I lean back into. Go back to the 20 minutes of bean time, the rhythm that you know. Yeah, it's game changing.
Well, what about this? Tell me over the last week, is there a lesson or a learning that you've taken that stood out?
The thing about, a couple of things. The first one, when we mentioned standards before, when you fall off, I think that's something that's worth sharing, is that, you know, the standard kind of tells you what I need to do next. Yeah. But it doesn't tell me what I'm worth. Yeah. So I'm always worth something. It doesn't matter even if I don't meet my own standard. The standard tells me what to do next, but what it means is that I'm still worthy, regardless of whether I met my standard or not. Yeah. Because the minute I start to tell myself I'm not worthy, the standard becomes less and less attainable. So I think that's really important. And that's what I've had to keep front of mind this week when I sort of missed my standards over the weekend a little bit. Even though a couple of them were intentional, a couple of them were unintentional. And then I just said, fuck it. And I wasn't intentional about the fuck it even, you know. I kind of, there was that push away of avoidance. I didn't do it, don't worry about it. Rather than going, okay, I'm not doing it because of this. This is what I'm going to do instead, or whatever. Yeah. I think that's one. And like I said, with that savage voice, like, it's got a message for us, right? Most of the time the message is quite reasonable, but it's not a great translator of what's really going on for you. Yeah. So I think that's the thing. I think he's you know, it's like he's just reacting rather than responding. So I think that's pretty important to become that. So yeah, I think, you know, there are a few other things I've learned, but you know, I had a really, really rough day. I think it was Tuesday. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, you know, shit, all the buzz that I felt last week when we were talking, I was up and about. It kind of felt like it had gone a bit, because it's a long journey ahead, right? But yeah, the beautiful part about it is if you stick to process, you stick to standards, you get yourself back on track and you feel pretty good pretty quickly. So
yeah, definitely. And you will feel pretty good pretty quickly, because the avalanche effect of all these standards will become more and more evident, and that'll drive you on. It won't just be the mental wins of sticking to it, but you'll start to see a difference in the mirror. You'll start to feel different. You'll be going for a walk thinking, oh, I can up the pace a little bit here. I'm not sweating. All those little things. The little wins will just start to pile up, and that'll keep you going forward.
Look, another thing I've learned too is I'm now curious about what other people's dragons really are. I mean, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I'm always trying to dig out for them, but because I really realise what this is, I'm getting more and more curious. Like, what's the really big dragon that everyone needs to slay? And sometimes they come up, they're weird. Like, you don't know what it's going to be. One guy I worked with, his was diabetes. He's had diabetes since he was young. He was a really good swimmer, and when he got the diabetes, it just went kind of sideways with it for him, and spent his whole life. Diabetes was what he had to slay. Like, he felt like or what he had to tame, because he felt like he had it under control, which he did. But the limitations that he set himself that were actually not real, they were around what he was capable of in terms of, weight and all that sort of stuff. Like, and for him, he's moving into the next phase of work, and his big one's going to be similar to this, is to really get his weight down to where it needs to be. But he's used diabetes as a crux. Yeah. So that's been his dragon, if that makes sense. Yeah. So everybody's got these internal dragons. So I'm getting more and more curious about them. So we might even have to have a 5 or 10 minute session with you every week, Mick, and explore your dragons.
Yeah, we may need to. But it's good. I think listening to these conversations, hopefully it's getting people who are taking the time to listen to maybe think a little bit about what that means for them too, and what's holding them back, and how they can follow along your storyline through 98.9, but also apply what we're talking about to themselves.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the message from today though really is about avoidance, isn't it? Right? Like, why? Yeah, facing your reality doesn't actually lower your standards. Facing your reality doesn't make it any worse. And this is, day one, when people walk into a room with Uncommon Man, what's the first thing we say to them? Be honest about what you're telling yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that takes courage to do that.
Yeah, don't lie to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you need to know what that voice in the head's saying, because you have to counter it with something better. So If you sit there and go, oh, I'm not very kind to myself, but you're actually calling yourself a so-and-so and getting really fucking hard on yourself, you need to write that down, because the only way to shift that energy is with something that's of equal or greater.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm motherfucking awesome, Shark. And I'm the embodiment of transformational change, Mick.
Yeah.
That's who I am, brother.
Exactly.
Have a look at me.
Getting ready for a footy comeback. Ready for Super Rules 2027.
But I can't run avoidance on that image, right? I cannot run avoidance on that image. No matter what I do.
Yeah. Oh dear. I'll tell you what.
We'll see what the Sasquatch looks like in 9 months' time. Beautiful, mate.
We'll look forward to the next week. What does it entail? Are there any challenges that stand out on the horizon, or is it a pretty stock standard week?
I ended up joining a joint called Everlab, where you sort of, it's pretty good actually. They collate all your medical results, and then you have a consultation with one of their doctors. They do a lot of work on longevity and that sort of stuff, but that's not really the purpose here. It's just to get that baseline. So I'm just waiting on the other 2 lots of tests to come back. So there's a bit of work on that, but what I'm really going to lean into this week is building out some identity work. I think I need to. You've created a My Reel before, so for me, it's about building out 8 or 9 or 10 magnets around this, really strong magnets that I can connect with, because I just really think that that's the next phase, is to build out that identity. And for me, it's about maybe stepping up a few things. I think there's some things that I can just step up a little bit without going too hard, maybe trying to get a couple of boxing sessions in, and just around. We've got a new dog, and he's fucking nuts. He's been going off here for the last. I'm really hoping you can't hear him trying to jump.
Having a Barnaby Joyce moment.
Oh, mate, seriously, I almost did too. All right, mate, beautiful. Well, you enjoy yourself.
Great chatting, Leigh.
Much love. See you, bud.
I do, Leigh.